Hello and welcome to this episode of Zina Asks. So, this is a series of where I tackle your burning questions, dear event professionals. And this time we are talking about AI agents. So, we read a lot about it, we see it everywhere on social media, but what does it actually mean? So, these are the questions that I want to tackle today. What is it? How can we use it in our event industry? And for that, I have the pleasure to be joined here by these lovely two gentlemen, Vamshi from Snapside and Bogdan from Visual Hive. Hello, guys.
Hey, hi,
Hello.
Sid.
Absolute pleasure to be here. I mean, it's very fun.
Thank you. It's an important topic, so I chose the best AI experts that I can think of. And if you guys in the audience have any questions for them, please drop them in the chat. We are monitoring the chat and we are happy to answer any questions from the audience as well. I give priority to you guys, as always. You know it. So let's get things started and let's try to keep it very basic and very
Yeah,
easy to understand, right? Um, so, question to you both. So, in your own words, and like from your experience and from your knowledge, so how do AI agents differentiate from what we know, like how we use ChatGPT? I assume everybody from you, the audience, you know how to use ChatGPT. You use it for whatever you need it. But now, what are AI agents compared to that? And maybe Vamshi, you want to start?
yeah, sure. So, what is it? When I was preparing for a presentation, I was actually thinking how to put this, right? So, if we see this chat GPT and how this is going out, uh, that is actually branching into two things. One is real time intelligence, which is really like system one thinking that we have, super intuitive, super fast based on your previous memory. When you ask ChatGPT, what is something, you will get an answer. Right? And then second one is uh, right now they are calling it deep research or deep thinking or whatever it is, but that is basically deliberate reasoning, planning out steps and executing that steps and checking whether we got the right answer or not. So that is deep thinking, and that is the basics for agent as well. As in, if you give a specific task to an agent, it will not give you an answer based on the memory or something else, but it actually crafts a plan, goes and executes the plan, then checks whether it is giving you an output which is relevant to your question, and then giving you an answer. That is what is an agent for me. Yeah.
That's a good answer. I need to up my
Bogdan.
game. So I think the quickest one I can say, the most, the one that really hits for me is that if you think the difference between a chatbot, because ChatGPT to a certain degree is a chatbot, so the difference between something like GPT and a assistant is the same difference between a help desk at an event and an assistant. So if you go to the help desk, you'll say, "Where is the bathroom? The bathroom is here, there. Happy days, you've got the bathroom." Whereas with agents, you'll have somebody with you that is uh, noticing that you need to go to the bathroom. It's a silly example, but it notices what you do and is more proactively sends directions to your phone, for example, to a certain degree. It's a very silly example, but is the difference between searching for information, which is a help desk, to actually thinking about what you need to do and think going more into a human element, which takes actions to achieve a goal. Because, for example, if you have an assistant that says, what sessions should I see? You go to the help desk and they say, this is the schedule. Go there and do that. An assistant will look at your profile, will look at context, will look at other data, and will say, based on what I know about you, I've got this. These are the answers. Would you like to know more? Would you like to explore other versions?
Okay. So, for our audience, which are mostly event professionals, where do you see the use of AI agents?
Yeah.
Vamshi, go
So
ahead.
yeah, there can be a. lots of use cases. See, when we started with Chat GPT, the basic examples that we saw, like creating a session description or creating something else, and all of those are really good for typical Chat GPT. But then we have also tried to do an attempt of building an agenda, which is actually in real world is a really complex task, right? We cannot one shot an agenda. To create an agenda, you also need to coordinate with the speakers, their schedules, their subject matters, your event theme, and all of that. So, if somebody can really build an agenda using an agent, that would be a really perfect use case, because they need to take into consideration of events theme, who are the potential speakers you are considering, reaching out to them, and then if somebody cancels, then you go back and change the whole schedule, what should be adjusted, and all of that. So that level of complexity is what a real human will be taking care of, and then potential agent can take at least 50-60% of that complexity. I'm sure that no single agent will be able to completely build an agenda on its own, but will be able to take at least 40-50% of that complexity. Yeah, that's a really good use case for me.
Okay, Bogdan, what do you think?
I think it's the from what I've seen and from my beliefs, I think agents, and I'm using the word agents, not necessarily. I mean, there are multiple ways of using agents, and agents can work with each other. So it's not necessarily a agent that will solve a specific problem. And getting to that thing, I think where it's very good and where it's very successful, not necessarily very good, is identifying pain points and solving them. So it's not about creating an app for an event that uses AI across everything. It's about you're in ops and you spend 3 to 10 hours a week trying to go between CRM, floor plan, your point of truth, exhibitors, and everything else, making sure that all the data matches. That is a series of agents that can help you. You are a sorry, let me give Snapsite example. You want session summarization. That's an agent. I'm exaggerating. It's quite a complex thing. It's not just one agent that does it. It's a multitude of agents, and a lot of system is the same thing. The same thing with us on Visual Hive and Erlea. We have a assistant that helps you. Then it has an agent that understands context. It has an agent that understands networking. It has a series of agents that understand networking, a series of agents that build agendas, a series of agents that do that. But you identify the small problem, you identify the process, you identify the steps, you identify the data, and then that agent can curate that. And then you can grow those agents and put them into a hive, excuse the pun.
Mm-hmm. So David is asking, do you use ChatGPT as an agent? So I might have an answer to that, but Vamshi, maybe you want to give it a try first.
I think ChatGPT, whether people say it's what do you say, not that great or whatever, I still feel that is the what is it OG tool, and the way they build their product really showcases that capability. When they have released their general purpose agent, that does a really good job. Let me give you an example. Since I am into sales as well, one of the things that we need to do is some kind of list building, right? Okay, I want to see which associations are there in Washington DC, let's say. So I actually tried this in ChatGPT web agent that they have. If you just give it a specificity that I want to find all associations which are headquartered in Washington DC based on the publicly available information, that actually browses a computer like how a human does, goes through multiple websites, looks through lists and all of that, and then compiles and then does a verification whether those associations are really based in Washington DC or not, and then creates an Excel sheet for me. So yes, so ChatGPT has those kind of deep use cases. The more we can use it to for a very specific task, the better it will be. And I use it too often. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So because in my opinion, like ChatGPT is like you put in your prompt, so you have an input, ChatGPT works on it, you have an output, right? So it's a very easy kind of
Yeah, I know.
workflow.
within ChatGPT, they do have an agent functionality. You need to click on that, then you need to get started. Like now, ChatGPT is name of the broader product, but then they do have normal chat, they do have an agent, they have deep research, they have multiple things, and I think I'm mainly talking about ChatGPT's agent. Yeah.
Okay. So, Bogdan, like, what do you think for us normal people? How, like, what do we need to do now to learn more about that so that that we are not behind? And when do you think this will be part of our work life?
It is already part of our, even if you don't know it, it's still part of your work life. So AI is, if you have an Alexa or a Google Home, it's kind of AI. It's not generative AI. It might not use open AI. It might not be GPT, but it's already part of your life. A lot of the tools that you use have generative AI behind it. So even if you don't want to know it, it's there. How you start with it's a different conversation. Uh,
But
it's
like
too general of a
specifically with
conversation.
specifically with agents. So like you
Specifically
know.
with agents, yes, it's very simple. Find your pain point. Find the thing that really annoys you that you're doing every single day. Find the thing that if you have to go through a spreadsheet twice or three times a week every time for an hour, that is a pain point. That
Yeah.
is something that I can guarantee you an agent can do. If you have to, I don't know, book 300 meetings, an agent can do that. uh, that agent, again, ChatGPT is not an agent. ChatGPT is a product, so the agents behind it make it feel magical. The same thing with Claude, because I'm just seeing the Arthur's question around there. uh, I prefer Claude. I don't really touch ChatGPT, both for personal and ethical reasons to a certain degree, but for example, Richard, my CTO, loves ChatGPT. But it's, again, you can create those agents. You need to start to read into it. You don't need to know code. You don't need to know anything. Just start like an MVP. Go to Claude, because I like Claude more. I'm not going to say ChatGPT, for example. Go to Claude and say, I have this problem. Don't input anywhere any private data or anything like this. I have this problem. How can I sort it out? And not only that, Claude can tell you how to build the agents, but he'll tell you how to solve the problem. Of course, take it with a pinch of salt. Make sure that you read everything, that you go through it, challenge it, because it's just a mirror that responds to everything and is keen to respond to everything. But use Claude to tell you how to use Claude agents. Use GPT to tell you how to use GPT agents. Literally, go there. Is the best possible trainer that you don't have to pay
Mhm.
for.
Does those tools then also connect the different tools for me, like my calendar, my like Google Suite or something like this,
It's
or do I
not
need
the
to do
magical
that?
one. It's not the magical one that you hope it is. If you see, so I'll give you an example outside of the event industry, because I think it's very critical, because we need to learn from outside, not just from inside the events industry. 90% of the startups that use AI have failed in the last 2 years. 80%, over 90% of the enterprise solutions that were implemented in the last 2 years have failed, mainly because they were very general. They wanted to say, sort my marketing, all my marketing, or sort my sales, like Vamshi said, or sort my podcast, or whatever it is. The one that really, really, really succeeded, they found the pain point and they sorted it out. For example, I'll name names here. The one that I'm using and really blew my mind to a certain degree recently is field. It's sorry, I've got into field. It's Fixer AI that sorts your email. It's a specific problem. I need to see what emails I need to respond. I'm getting too many emails. I have too many inboxes. It creates folders for those who don't have folders. Okay. I'm not talking about somebody like, I don't know, Johnny, who's maniac in terms of organizing everything, or somebody like somebody that actually does that. That's not a pain point for them. It's a pain
Hmm.
point for me, because I got tons of emails. That
Hmm.
solves my problem. I have a folder that says to respond, one FYI, one comment, one notification. I go into respond in the morning and in the afternoon. Happy days. It saves me 10 hours a week.
Hmm.
That's a pain
So,
point.
so could we use it? Imagine you are the customer support
Yeah.
for a big conference. Could we use it to first sort all the requests coming in and then maybe also answer them
I will
automatically?
give you a very specific example from an event we've run 2 weeks ago with Clarion. I won't give you the numbers. They are absolutely fantastic because I can't, because I have an NDA, but they're off the roof. We have an assistant that helps people at the event called Relea. It's the product, Happy Days. But inside it has multiple modules specifically for each pain point. This specific pain point was to help with support emails. Apart from everything else, that is fine-tuned for there. So what that means, it has an email, it talks to people, it replies to people. If there is anything, any problem, it escalates to that. It's fantastic for that, because usually the individual who answers the support emails is very busy. And most of the support emails, I can guarantee you that, is how do I get to the building? Use Google Maps. You cannot be rude, so you have to respond very quickly. What's the Wi-Fi password? It's written all the walls. You cannot be rude. Do that. So it responds to those specific. Sorry, my dog is very excited because I got excited as well. So that is a specific pain point. I have to save time because my customer support team is either non-existent and I have one of my senior people doing it, or they might not know what to answer because they also have to go and read through all of these things. So yes, it can. Yes, it can summarize because you have Snapsite here and you can summarize rather than going through every single one and taking notes. You can summarize that. Yes, it can point you to the right exhibitors. Yes, it can help with networking. Yes, it can do a lot of things if you do it properly.
So what's the difference between a chatbot and an agent?
Very good point. I
So
can shut up here.
let me give you one more example. I think why Bogdan put it in a really good way. You need to find a pain point, right? Like, let's say for an attendee, we are solving a pain point, summary and everything, but we do have a pain point. You have used Snapsite. Let's say there are 15 sessions, 20 sessions. For each session, like we are not a traditional translation company where you plug in once and then everything, whatever the speaker is saying, is getting translated. We need that bifurcation, which content belongs to which session. So we have an option of joining a session, leaving a session. For a human, it is a very simple task. They know just by looking at the screen or by looking at the situation, they know when to join, when to leave. But that is a very difficult problem to solve for us. And then we are creating an agent for that. And then that needs to consider multiple things. Whether somebody started speaking, whether are we near the session timings, because more often than not, these sessions won't start on time, can be early, can be late due to multiple reasons, right? So we need to look at session timings. We need to look at if somebody started speaking. If somebody started speaking, are they saying mic testing 1, 2, 3, or did the really speaker started speaking, right? So we need to consider all of these and then need to take a call to start the session. So we are building an agent. We have deployed it in one event where we had only like 50% success rate. So that was a really difficult task. So now we are again refining it again. So for this Q3 release, we are planning a series of agents like what is it? Bogdan mentioned. This is a very singular pain point that we are trying to solve, and then for these kind of specific agents that we should be building, we need to find a very specific problem, and then we need to train that agent on how to solve that problem so that we don't need to do it again and again. Yeah.
Okay.
100% on that. And just to add very quickly is a chatbot, the difference, the simple difference between a chatbot using an LLM, so OpenAI or anything like that, versus an agentic framework, let's call it, because you can have one agent or multiple agents doing those processes, is very simple. You will ask a question to a chatbot, it will go into the database, it will retrieve that information, it will give it to you. It's like a search to a certain degree, glorified search. I'm oversimplifying. The agents or the agentic framework are more like you ask a question, they go and see who you are, what's your context, where you're coming from, maybe where you are, what you've done before, look up the information, look up the and answer you from your perspective, from the perspective of the context that you have in that point of how you train that agent. So it can be as simple as answering to you in German because you ask the question in German. It can be as simple as making sure that you're, I don't know, neurodivergent, and it doesn't send you to the loud party; it sends you to the quiet dinner. Whereas with a chatbot, it will say what dinner options I have. You have a party where everybody goes. Go there. It has no context whatsoever.
Okay, good. Last question from David is, where can I find Claude? What's the website for Claude?
Yeah, it's Claude.ai. If you download it on your Windows computer or Mac, it works much better. Have fun with it. It's my go-to tool from my
Perfect.
perspective.
Very good. Okay, the 50 minutes are slightly over, but there is a lot to discuss on these topics, and maybe we do another episode about that, because I find it very interesting, and it is tricky to answer that within a few minutes because it is quite complex.
Yes.
So if everybody wants it in the audience, I'm totally up to do another episode on it at another time. If anybody has more questions that I should tackle in the Zina Asks episodes, just send me a message or comment on any of my posts, and I'm happy to find some experts on the topics and also do a LinkedIn Live on that. So with that, thank you, Vamshi and Bogdan. If anybody has more questions to the experts, you know where to find them. They're very active on LinkedIn. Make sure to follow them. And I hope to see you again next time.